Call 1, call on Saturday, August 6, 2022, 9:06 and 15 seconds a.m.
California Highway Patrol.
Hi there. I live up in Truckee, and my daughter never came home last night, and so I'm calling to see if there was any contact with her car overnight.
Okay, do you know her license plate number?
Yeah.
What is your first and last name for our records?
Yeah, my name is...
And your phone number? And what kind of vehicle is it? Color, make, and model?
Yeah, it's like a silver 2013 Honda CR-V.
And what's your daughter's first and last name, as it would be on her
Kylie May Rodney, Kiely, last name Rodni.
Hold on, Kiely?
Yeah.
And what's her last name?
Rodni, Rodni.
And what's her date of birth?
2005.
Okay, so I'm not seeing anything. The CHP hasn't had any contact with her in terms of her being hospitalized or arrested or anything like that, and her vehicle isn't being showed as towed or stored.
Okay.
Okay.
So I don't need to go to the hospital because that would have shown up.
This is CHP only, so I don't know any local PDs or sheriff's departments. You would have to contact them all individually, but I checked for the state of California in terms of CHP. So she hasn't had any sort of contact with them.
Okay, yeah, I talked to the local police up here and sheriff's dispatch, and they didn't either. So, and so then I have to wait. I have to wait like 24 hours to do a missing persons thing. Is that correct, or is that just what I see on TV?
I'm not sure. You would have to inquire with your local department on that one.
Okay, thanks so much.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.
In this video, I want to address a couple of videos that have just been put out by CNY Family, I think she calls the channel. The irony is that I have actually only earlier this week, or late last week I should say, only just put out a video addressing similar issues in the Madeline Soto case. I realise that probably there's a lot of people who don't watch my Madeline Soto content who are like exclusive Kiely Rodni followers, so I thought I would just make this video and address these two videos that have been put out by CNY. I do, however, strongly recommend that you go and you watch my video that I put out last week, which is titled something along the lines of I Made a Mistake, because that goes more in depth into the issue in terms of the Madeline Soto case. But in a nutshell, the information that came out last week in terms of the Madeline Soto case was that there was a predator who had ingratiated himself into several Madeline Soto groups. Not only had he ingratiated himself, but he'd somehow made himself an administrator or a mod of one of the Reddit groups. And he was communicating with people in a Facebook group and communicating with a YouTube content creator. And he was claiming that he was close to the family, and he was sharing information that was supposedly first-hand information from the family. Now, Paula Plunder also did a video discussing this, and I recommend her video. That's also linked in my video. Because the thing is, many of us believed from the way he spoke in his posts and in his communications with people that they were talking to a female. He made it sound like he was talking as a female close to the family. This guy ingratiated himself so much that he actually got Tyler and Tatiana, Madeline's bio dad, and his wife, partner, to share photos with him that hadn't been made public. And he was making various claims as well. Now, this guy came out with a lot of things such as he's the one who set the story up that Tyler and Tatiana had been told that Madeline Soto was not pregnant, and that he had had a phone call from the prosecutor's office also saying the same thing. So there were claims that there were these two sources saying that no, Madeline was not pregnant. Now, there was a video that I put out last week, which I ended up pulling down pretty damn quickly after I discovered the origins of it. It was from a post that had been put on the Madeline Soto page, and it was a rather lengthy post, and it was supposedly written by someone who was close to the family and knew Madeline well. And it was a very flowery tribute to Madeline, basically, talking about things she liked to do, a bit about her personality, etc. Okay, I'm just going to pause because I'm not sure that I can fully control this. My cat is running around the house like a crazy lunatic, intentionally trying to upset my chihuahua. So there will be noises in the background. This can go on for a while, so I'm just going to push on rather than wait for them to quit being idiots. So you will hear noises in the background, and I apologise for that. Okay, so going back to talking about this particular matter, it was very flowery. It came across as written by a female, it came across as written by someone who was very close to Maddie. And this was one of a number of things that had been put out there. And then I discovered that this was one of the things that had been written by this predator posing as someone close to the family. And I put out a video late last week apologising because I had fallen hook, line and sinker for some of the things this person had put out. I had been one of the first persons to put out a video saying we've been told that Madeline was not pregnant, and I didn't question it. And I said this in my apology video. I said, were this the Kylie Rodney case, I've learnt to be careful and question every bit of information like this that comes out, because there's been a lot of people posing as people who knew Kylie, or claiming to know the family or something, or claiming to have been at the party and putting out information. And I had made that point. And then suddenly these two videos pop up from CNY. Now, I am normally careful about talking about other creators, and I don't like to sound critical, but this has to be said because we have a new narrative that's being created here, and people are running with the idea, and, well, actually it's not a new narrative. I'll come back to that in a minute. But people are grabbing hold of this idea and running with it, and now this is something that is going to be considered as a truth. One of the things that CNY commented on in one of the two videos that she did with this was that she asked this individual who had contacted her, why did you contact me? There are bigger creators, so why did you choose to contact me? And apparently the reply was, well, you seem like a sensitive person, you seem like a trustworthy person, you have children of your own, yada yada. So, bit of buttering up, you seem like a caring person, the kind of person who would listen to me. Here's the thing, and I have to apologise here, but I'm just going to put this outright. CNY has shown herself as someone who will accept these stories when they are given to her. This is far from the first instance of some random person contacting her, claiming to have close ties to the case and giving her a story which she has then published on YouTube. To me, that is concerning. That says that people are realising that she's not going to fully verify her sources and that she's going to publish without being 100% certain that the person who has contacted her is who they are saying that they are. Now, a lot of content creators, myself included, have been contacted by people claiming knowledge of Kylie's case. But you don't see me or Shan sharing things that we've been told on YouTube, because either they are extremely private things and may identify someone, or we don't have verification that the person who's contacted us is legitimate. And here's where I'm saying we need to be so cautious. This person contacted CNY claiming that they were a friend of Kylie's. The entire story that was put, I've listened to both videos made by CNY, the entire story that was put forward to me sounded like a well-crafted narrative. It sounded like a narrative that someone had sat down and put together based on content that was already out there, based on speculation that was already out there. And the irony is, this is exactly what I was talking about last week with relation to the Madeline Soto case. This H-Ghost person who put out all this stuff on Reddit and Facebook and contacted one particular creator, the stuff that they were putting out was basically stuff that they had gleaned from watching Madeline Soto content and from looking at images that were being shared by content creators, most specifically images from the memorial and also some of the foyer photos that many of us have, which, for example, one of the things they claimed was that Maddie loved making beautiful bracelets with beads, and it's, her way of expressing herself. When you look through the many photos that were made available via FOIA requests, there are photos in Maddie's room of a few of those bracelets, beaded bracelets that teenagers love to make, sitting on a cabinet. And of course there are dangly beaded things that were at Maddie's memorial. So this is something that someone could easily assume from looking at the photos. So they didn't give anything solid that would make you think, well, okay, that's new information about Maddie. Aside from one thing, and this was one thing that I questioned, and this is just going back to the Maddie Soto case, they talked about her loving playing volleyball. And yet, when you listen to the interviews carefully of Maddie's teachers, you understand that she wasn't really into sport. She didn't dress out for sport, and quite often she was called out of sport to go to support classes. So she didn't participate a great deal. And this was just we know it was made up because we know it was by this H ghost. But what I'm saying here is this individual had done their research. They had listened to various YouTubers and got information from there. They'd scoured through the Facebook posts, the Reddit posts, and they built themselves up a story based on information that was already out there. And then they put that story out, making it sound very flowery, making it sound like they had a first-hand story about Maddie. And to me, it seems that this is what's happening with these latest things that have come out from CNY. All these things that are being said are things that have been said at some point in time. And what this person has done, in my belief, I honestly do not believe that this is a close friend of Kylie's. To me, this sounds like someone who has basically gone through early content. They've looked for things that perhaps haven't been discussed as much recently, and they've put them together to create a narrative. And we've had this happen so many times in Kylie's case. There were a few things that were said in these two CNY videos that we know have been proved false since they were previously put out as factual information. I've forgotten straight up what one of those things was, but talking about her early acceptance to Yale, we know that's not the truth. Okay? We know that that's not accurate. CNY should have known that herself and should have straight up realised that she was being played. Because I honestly believe that there's nothing in what has been said by this individual to convince me that they truly were a friend of Kylie. It sounds to me like fan fiction, essentially. And I know that sounds odd, but having read the stuff that was written by this H-ghost person relating to Madeline Soto, I think that's what is occurring here in some of these true crime cases now, is that you get these weird people who are writing fan fiction and trying to get attention for themselves by targeting creators who are not necessarily going to fully verify the identity of the individual that contacted them. I know that Shan, and I hope Shan will forgive me for this, I know that Shan, when she's been contacted by some people who have given her their identities, has made sure that that is exactly who they are, and has done her best to verify their identity. And you will have realised also that even with verified information, there's been a lot of things that Shan and I will not publicly put out there, because they're not things that should actually be shared on the internet. So there's also that, the issue of, is this information that really does need to be put out there? Is it going to help get justice? Is it going to help tell the story of what happened? Because there's a lot of information, I can tell you now, there's a lot of information that Shan has that has been given to her in the background, but which she keeps private because she knows it's not stuff that needs to be made public. And I think more creators need to do that, need to question themselves. Do I really need to put this information out there as public information? What does it serve by me putting that information out there? And as content creators, it's something that we need to do, because we need to make sure that we are not contributing to the spread of unfounded rumours. This information that's come out from CNY, at the end of the day, she admits it is not verified. There is no solid proof of any of this information. So at the end of the day, this is rumours. This is hearsay. She's relating something that's been told to her by someone who could be anybody. This could be another H-ghost. It could be the same individual. Let's talk about the fact that this guy got booted from the Madeline Soto community, well and truly. He got booted from Reddit. He got booted from Facebook. And suddenly every content creator who is talking about the Maddie Soto case is super cautious about any kind of individual like this and is not likely to fall for it again. So suddenly, within days of this happening, CNY gets contacted by someone who is claiming to be close to Kylie and is following the same sort of MO that this H-ghost was following with the Madeline Soto community. You've got to question it. And you certainly have got to question whether or not you should be putting out that kind of information without verification. Let's talk about the allegations that have been made in these two videos. Serious allegations about Kylie's family. Now, they hedge around, they don't give exact specifics, but there's enough there to make it clear that the allegations are being made, at the very least, against Lindsay, if not also about Tony, and also about the lodge. These are allegations that have come out before, and there is no solid evidence of these allegations whatsoever. No proof. We don't know why these came out other than people trying to create a story. And now you have a content creator who has had several hundred views of her videos putting out this same story, saying that it was told to her by an unverified source. To me, that's extremely irresponsible. Now, we all have our opinions on Lindsay, but let's be fair. Put yourself in her shoes. Imagine that you've lost your daughter, and suddenly people are making these allegations online, making these allegations on YouTube. How do you know that there's any truth in those allegations? How do you know that by listening to those allegations and sharing those allegations that you are not creating even more pain for a mother who's gone through the worst possible pain that any mother could possibly go through? There's no proof of these allegations. These are not things that should be reported online. And like I said, there's been so many instances of people coming out with these kinds of stories in Kylie's case, none of which are verified. I think we need to be cautious. We need to take a lesson from what happened in the Madeline Soto case and be aware that there are these people out there who for some reason, are deciding that they want to do this sick fan fiction thing and put out stories to content creators so that they can hear their stories being told. Because that's what this H. Ghost was doing in the Madeline Soto case. And how do we know that this information that's now come out from CNY is not someone doing the exact same thing? How do we know it's not the same person? So the lesson here is pretty clear. And that is that we really should not be sharing information that is unverified, especially not when it can cause pain and suffering for an individual. I'm not going to go into a discussion of the things that Lindsay said that people thought were wrong, or the things that Lindsay did that people thought they were wrong. We don't know Lindsay as an individual. We don't know what she was going through at the time. We don't know the reason she was going out for sushi when Adventures with Purpose were out looking for her daughter. How do we know that it wasn't a situation of one of her friends saying, "You haven't been eating properly, I'm going to take you to get some lunch"? Because it was lunchtime when Adventures with Purpose found Kylie. People still have to eat. And sometimes when you are in a situation like what Lindsay was in, you forget to feed yourself. And people have to look after you. So, sure, we can say, well, she was out eating sushi while they were looking for her daughter. We don't know the full information, the full details of why she was out eating sushi. Did you expect her to not eat for 2 weeks? She wasn't going to drive all the way home to the lodge, because that's quite a distance from the reservoir. It's also possible that she was confident that Kylie wasn't in that reservoir, and that's why she wasn't hanging around the area while Adventures with Purpose was searching. Don't forget too, this is a parent who spent 2 weeks waiting around, not home, but waiting in that camper van where the family was stationed for someone to come and tell her they'd found her daughter. You know, how long do you keep that up? And why would you think that Adventures with Purpose were going to be any different from the hundreds and hundreds of searchers who had already spent 2 weeks searching for your daughter? We need to think about things from her perspective before we try and judge. But in terms of hearing information that's been shared with a creator by someone claiming to be close to the case, we really need to be super, super cautious about running with that idea and about taking that on as a narrative. The narrative that was presented to CNY puts aside a lot of the accepted narrative in Kylie's case. A lot of the things that, for the most part, were verified by law enforcement. And you have to question why they are claiming these things. I don't for 1 minute believe that this person contacting CNY is legitimate. To me, there are too many discrepancies in what they are saying alongside verified information. I truly believe that this is someone creating a fan fiction narrative that has then been presented to the public by a creator who has been specifically targeted because they have in the past accepted similar narratives from other people. So I apologise. I will publicly apologise to CNY for putting this out there. But at the same time, I think it is super important for us to be mindful of what information we are putting out and what information we are believing. And most importantly, when we are putting out information, we need to question why we are putting out that information. Are we putting it out because we have exclusive information and it makes us feel important and we want to be the first ones to get that information out just in case this individual decides to contact someone else and they come out with the information first? Or are we putting out information because it will help get justice for a child who deserves justice? Or because it is sharing the story of a child and getting their name heard? When it comes to content creators, we all have a responsibility to do the right thing. You know, I didn't think twice about pulling down the videos that I pulled down in relation to the Maddie Soto case, because I realised straight away that I'd been played. And that wasn't even direct contact. That was me finding something on a Facebook post that sounded like it had been written by someone close to the family. That was me having listened to another content creator who sounded so very convinced of what they were telling us that I believed what they were saying, even though they themselves had been fooled by this H-ghost predator guy. We have to question everything. We can't just be randomly putting out information that is unverified. It can damage the possibility of getting justice, and it can also cause incredible hurt for those people who truly are close to the case. So thanks for listening. If you're new, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and leave a comment down below.